Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the Best Listener in the Room podcast. I am Matthew Deering here with Brian Sweeney and Tyler Arson. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
All right, jumping right in here. We've got an acting episode today. We're going to be talking improv, so I'm going to jump right into our verse for the day. Today's verse is from Ephesians 4:25. It goes like this. Therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body. Therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body. This is Ephesians 4:25, and we might go into some context of that later, but right now we're gonna take this idea of speaking truthfully and we're going to apply to improvisation.
Love it. Yeah, I know we don't need to dive deep into this, but when it comes to your, the process for getting the verse and connecting, each time we're going through the topic and working it, it's usually connected to whatever we're going over that day, usually, right? Is that right?
And this one is as well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And that's what I mean by we can go into that later, but I just think this one really, hit me dealing with the topic.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, it's the idea for one body, the idea of being a connected mind, of working together as a team to create something. In our topic and going into improv is essential for getting.
So what you're saying is, if you're on stage with some other people, and let's say you're on a troupe or even just a group of people in class, mm-hmm. you're striving for what improvisers call the group mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And biblically applied to this verse, you're saying we can think of ourselves like this one body of Christ idea.
Yes.
And that we should be listening truthfully so that we can be connected.
Absolutely, 100%. And you need that in order for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what happened and why this verse came up, why this episode came up. So I had a conversation with one of our students last night. His name's Garrett. Might be watching. Hello, Garrett. And he popped his head in, and he was sort of. This wasn't last night. I'm sorry. Maybe it was last night. I can't remember. But he was talking about the script class, mm-hmm. and he's like, Matt, we got to do these 1, 2, 3, 4 scenes in the improv class.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everyone's gonna minds blown, gonna open up, gonna understand. Because no one's trying to be funny. All these scenes are dramatic, and yet there's been huge laughs on all the scenes.
And to be clear for anybody watching who doesn't know that's the active listening exercise of you can't use regular dialogue. You only can use 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and that subtext is happening underneath.
That's right. And so I told Garrett a couple things, but one of the first things I said was, I'm not sure if you remember this or not, but I told every improviser.
Yes, you did.
That this subject right now in script for the next quarter is something that's going to be huge for you as an improviser. I highly recommend you take those classes.
Absolutely, right. Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, I said, yeah, you did. Just
I had to ask him 100%. What he said.
Yeah. The beginning.
Okay, so that being said, I don't disagree with Garrett, and we could add that in, but there's only so much time. Right. In the class, and there's also these improv techniques that must be learned and must be developed, but putting them together is the thing that's really magical. So then we had this conversation for a while, and I was like, okay, cool, thank you. I'm gonna sort of soak that in. And then he texted me later. It was the next day, and he's like, Matt, I was reading the TJ and Dave book that you suggested, and
that's the Improv at the Speed of Life.
Correct. Yeah. And he's like, wow. What you've been saying, I feel like it's right here in these 4 pages, and he listed the pages, and I text him back. I'm like, hey, I don't have the book in front of me. Why don't you text it over to me? So he texted over, and I read it.
You texted to us, and we read it. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah, and I wrote back to him. I reread these pages with delight. This is exactly what I've been saying over and over and over, and hopefully light bulbs go off for people. Hopefully that happens. But then I also said, I'm also going to be honest here and say, I don't think I think for the most part, people actually get there when they're seeking it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he was in this moment and in ongoing moments, right?
It's sort of like finding Christ, finding this the Spirit, the truth, and it's like if you're not seeking God, you're not going to find it.
Yeah, it can't just be on Sunday. You can't just show up on Sunday and then come the next Sunday and do that, right? Like it has to be an
even like not even that. Like
right.
just like
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right. I'm just uninterested, So I heard about it, but I'm uninterested. It's okay. Like I'm not no judgment to anybody, by the way. We're not forcing any worldview. Just saying that you're not going to find it if you don't want to find it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you hear something in the class and it feels weird, right? Like you might think to yourself, why would we ever be learning, working on, testing out dramatic scenes when we're supposed to be trying to make comedy for a crowd?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. You're like,
it doesn't make sense. We're called chaos comedy, right?
Right.
So I guess it all depends on what is your style of comedy, and then our goal is to try to get everybody in alignment with our vision for comedy. And this has been my vision for a long time. And TJ and Dave actually literally say almost the exact same words in their book, which is they're striving for perfection, an unattainable thing in improv.
Yeah, right.
They're striving for perfection. They're striving for the perfect show, which is impossible. To them, they do not measure laughs. To them, a really intense silence where everybody's like completely captured by the moment, to them, that's as good or maybe better than a laughter. Because you are in the show. You are totally connected to what's happening. So it's like, what I'm striving for is to be entertaining. I want our shows to be interesting. I want our shows to then hopefully have a chance at moving an audience, at actually connecting to someone and changing them and mattering, just like a great play does.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the book, it described the Joan Rivers example. But when you say that, even that reminds me of many times you've said this, and we were dealing with this when we were setting up plays for Lighthouse, deciding a play and all that stuff, was just that, like, you want people to have really honest table conversations after a performance.
That would be ideal.
Where it is. And the same would go for improv shows. So they might have laughed in points throughout the show, but they're captured by the time they leave. It's still on their minds. It's occupying space because it was so good you can't not talk about it,
Right. I had trouble articulating this in the pre-show, but I don't want to go for the laugh. My goal is to affect the room, whatever that may be, right? So that's what I was trying to say when I was like, it just came to me while you were going over that. So
okay, I need help with that though. What do you mean affect the room?
I mean, I want to make the audience feel something.
I actually want to take it a step further and have you let go of that too.
Make it be yourself or partner versus
it's
audience?
just the moment. Because if your feeling and your only concern is how do I impact my scene partner?
Yeah, right.
How do I disturb the energy between us and make sure that we are having some sort of visceral, real thing? The audience will get in line with you. If I'm worried at all about what they think, or if they're laughing, or if they're not laughing, if I am aware of the audience, I am not fully committed and in the moment that I'm in. And that's what we're going for. We're going for mastery, like masterclass level acting on the improv stage.
Yeah, and I would go back to what you said about, like, you did tell the improv class about the script program and especially this moment, but the program itself has been designed so that they completely complement each other for a well-rounded actor.
There's a reason.
And, if you even take it in the script context, that's like coming into the room and caring about how the casting director's reacting to you.
Right.
Instead of truly just being in that moment and influencing your partner, and inevitably we will most likely respond because you're being so truthful.
So how many times... Well, actually, let me rewind. Before I say that, can you please... Just since you brought it up, I'd like you to walk through it. The Joan Rivers example. Just give that example for a second, because what one of the things I want to get across today is stop going for the laughs. Stop caring about the audience. Stop counting those laughs. Stop making that
that isn't the prize.
The prize. That's not what means it's successful. Okay.
Right.
So give me the Joan Rivers example real fast.
So, paraphrasing slightly, the example was that Del Close had said, or she had said to Del Close that I want a divorce.
They're in a scene together.
They're in a scene, right? And he said,
What about the
something
kids?
like, "What about the kids?" Right? And then her response was, "What kids? We don't have kids," which got
Shattered
a laugh
it.
from the audience. You know, the jarring, like, unexpectedness of that line got a laugh. However, and this is the part that I really loved, was like, it then like destroys the future of that scene and the truth of that scene, and even more so, destroys the trust between Del and Joan moving forward. Like, he basically can't trust that he's going to tell her something serious or tell her something without her going for a joke.
Right. So she got the laugh.
Which was her goal based on the book. Her goal was get the laugh, and his was...
And here's why. Stand-up comedians are historically bad at improvisation.
Absolutely.
And the reason is because they are trained to go for the kill.
Yes, they are.
So sometimes we'll have smart actors, good actors, people that understand what like the essence of a joke, but they will kill scenes because they see the joke, they go for the kill, they cut the head off the snake, but guess what? Now the scene is dead.
Yeah, it's like for those of our students or those who do shift left, right, in their shows, it's like coming out with the third beat right on the top.
Right.
Which kills the scene. It's
Right.
like it's supposed to kill the scene on the third beat at the very end to end the scene and move on to the next one. But it's like that's happening in the first beat or second beat of scenes because they saw the opportunity to jump on it.
Right. So in the book, in TJ and Dave's book, what they say is to work really hard on not counting the laughs, to work really hard on trusting and getting yourself all the way to the place of what they say, just be. Just be.
Yeah.
You remember our old thing for Lighthouse, listen, choose, be?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I've been saying this
From the beginning,
for
forever.
for decades. You listen, you choose, and then you just be. If I choose and then I try so hard to manipulate the thing,
Yeah.
it gets so off and it's so false and it's so fake that it's really hard for you to believe yourself. It's hard for your scene partners to believe you, and it's hard for the audience to even like figure out what's going on. And then I think what happens sometimes right now in our shows will be that there might be half of the people are trying to be grounded, really listening and trying to connect. The other half is like really big and someplace in where they're above the scene. And so it's the disjointedness of that can create this sort of like, I don't know if I'm supposed to care or I'm supposed to laugh.
Yeah.
So we fall into the middle ground somewhere.
Absolutely. And it also, I think they mentioned this in the parts of the book we were reading through, but fear can be a huge part of that. Fear, the anxiety of something. So I'm thinking for myself, a couple shows back, I can't remember who was specifically in the show with me, but like there was a point where in the earlier scenes, it had gotten brought up that one character was divorcing and like getting a divorce from another character. And then the director, leader of like running the classes and the space, again, because you say this a lot, like this shows are people's first impression, went like, I don't know if that fits into that family friendly and idea of what you're trying to build and show. So then my mind went panicky and fear. And my only goal then became, how do I unravel this divorce and get them back together inside of the scene, which was a fear, but not coming from the truth of what was happening and letting the characters in the play deal with what was happening, but instead like, whoop, we wind.
I'll say that you, I don't know, I don't remember the moment, but you might have been right and you might have been wrong to panic.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the question comes from, is this an honest and sincere moment?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, you don't trust your players to deal with something truthfully?
Yeah.
Or was it like, oh yeah, well, I'll just get a divorce, and like they're treating it like it's nothing?
Yeah.
And if it's that, it's like, okay, A, we're going for audience response, and B, now we're dealing with something and we're treating it lightly. So let's rewind that and let's get rid of that. And so it was probably the second one, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to look back. I know in my heart, in the moment, that fear got triggered, and then when the fear got triggered, there was a moment of blindness, if you will, like in that moment of like, I have to fix it without settling to decide and see if that was the case, as you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, it's an interesting line that we're trying to walk on, because we want you to be totally truthful, totally honest, totally connected, and at the same time, the only filter, we do want there to be a filter.
Yeah, has to be.
And that filter being that it's uplifting and that it is family friendly. So if something is said, it should be said in such a way that is not offensive to people and is appropriate for all ages.
Yeah, that anyone could be in the audience, even like your kids, you know?
I actually have a dream, which is this. I was watching your guys' last show live. I wasn't in it. I was watching it live at home, and I had my 3-year-old with me on the couch. 4-year-old, he's 4. I had my 4-year-old with me watching the live. And my dream was that he would be as interested as he is with Bluey. And could we get there?
Wow. That is, I mean,
it's a tall order, but also it's like
Yeah.
that's one of those, it's like a TJ and Dave goal, because I also don't want I want the adults to be just as interested, but I want him also to understand, and because of how good it is, be like, wow, like this is so fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah, and I would watch the heck out of some Bluey as an adult.
Well, Bluey's
a game to
hilarious.
watch with your kids.
It's
you know?
hilarious,
like,
yeah.
The kids love it, but like I actually legit was sitting there to watch this show, and I'm like, oh, we've watched like 3 episodes already, and like it passes by so fast.
And for those of you who don't know what Bluey is, it is a show. It's out of Australia, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. I think they're done now, but it's a worldwide phenomenon. The show. It was a kid's cartoon, and it just took off like wildfire. And I'm going to just say it. The reason it took off is because they dealt with real life issues.
Yeah, totally.
They dealt with it. They walked into it, and they dealt with it. And their shows are funny. They're
Yeah.
hilarious, but they're also truthful, and they also deal with real emotions. And it's from the real emotions that sucks everybody in, because you're
Yeah.
not used to having a cartoon that does that. And so when you do that, it's like, oh man, give me more of that, please.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up here soon. But before we do, I wanna talk about what we're doing tonight. Okay, tonight we're gonna be working on initiations. We dealt with this last night. We're working on initiations, and I was having this talk with Brian today just before the show, and had this realization where I just don't want people to get confused by the initiations, because we're going to do initiations, and yes, we want to get better at initiations. However, if you read the 4 pages of the TJ and Dave book that I read today, it would look like you don't initiate, which is actually true. It's actually true. I want you to just be on stage and just be. The problem is, what happens is when most people get on the stage, and if they're doing nothing, they're actually doing nothing, or they're just panicking in their mind and having this like sort of freak out moment. The just being on stage is actually this crazy level of hyper listening where so much is happening and you're processing so much and you're letting it change you, so that almost at a rapid speed you go from nothing to something without coming in with a choice. That's what we want everyone to do. The reason for the initiations is to start getting your brains to start working on this muscle of, okay, I see someone across from me. Here's like a possibility. Here's like what could possibly be. And then if you happen to be in a scene with someone and they're having a panicky moment, or they're looking at you like, I have no idea what you're talking about, you can add something, or you can be more clear or more specific, so that now we're on the same page. Right?
Absolutely.
So let's say, for instance, I come in, I sit down next to you, you sit next to me, we're on 2 chairs, and I buckle my seatbelt. And I look
No, we're
over
in
at
the
you.
car.
well, we're in a car. If you saw me.
Right.
Right.
But what I was about to say is I look over at you and I see blank eyes. I see like I'm terrified of this moment. At that point in time, I need to help.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say something like, okay, so you need to put on your seatbelt.
Right.
You know? Hey, like something very, like we're about to leave in our car here to go to school, okay? And like, and then that person's like, oh, like a sigh of relief, right?
Yes.
And so the idea being with the initiations is here's a softball that I can set up for my scene partner. So we're making it hard for the person who's making the initiation on purpose, knowing that later we're not trying to put that kind of pressure on ourselves.
Yeah.
We just want both sides to be listening and fighting for it, listening and fighting for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to, in a perfect world, we're connected, I'm paying attention, I'm listening to all the things you're supposed to be listening to, including your space work and you, and I notice the seatbelt, and then we don't have to say anything about it. I notice not just the seatbelt, but also how you're feeling as you're putting it on. What are you carrying with you as you got into this car? Like, you know, you think about different days of your life, the seatbelt's happening every time you get into the car, but it looks a lot different emotionally based on what happened to you leading up to that moment in that day and that week. And that's part of the actor's responsibility too, is seeing what is happening right there.
Right. So this should hopefully clear up the confusion. I'm just going to, since we're in it, I'm going to use this car example. So for tonight's class, an initiation that would probably fall under the, oh yeah, like that fits, that works, that's what we're trying to get for tonight, would be put on the seatbelt, look over at my scene partner, and I say, I'm so excited to drive you to school for your first day of school, sweetheart. That's like I just said, parent-child, we're in a car, we're going to school. I laid out everything. I gave you everything, right? What I'm looking for is I sit down, you sit down. Neither of us panics. I breathe. I'm like, oh, wow, we're in a car. And I didn't know, but now I know. And I put on my seatbelt. And ideally, you notice. And then you put on your seatbelt. And then the way you put on your seatbelt does something to me. And what's interesting is that like this just dawned on me just now. This is kind of really cool because this improv moment happened just now. I wouldn't say what I said earlier because I couldn't. Because you wouldn't be in the front seat.
Yeah.
If it was your first day of school,
right,
and I was talking to you the way I talk to you, you wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So I only, like, that just dawned on me literally now. That's the difference. And it almost gave me chills to think of it that way because it's like, this doesn't even fit. Like, I would never do it because it's not possible in my reality.
Yeah.
Because I know you should be in the back seat always. Like the kid to a certain age is right. And if it's your first day of school, you're going to be 5 or whatever, you know, and I'm talking to you like a little kid.
Yeah.
So if you're coming out with an idea, you have this plan maybe in your mind, a little bit of a pre-plan. You don't want a pre-plan, but you have that. And then something.
Zero pre-plan.
Right.
I want 0.
So that even that little bit of dialogue you had for the first day of school bit.
But that would
goes
have
away.
happened.
But I'm saying you would have nothing.
Right. So, but if you
come out and
You
just
gotta-
do the seatbelt is what you're saying.
right. So my
No, I would say I say you sat down.
Right. You sat down.
I took a breath.
So my thought here was just as an improviser, we have to be ready to let go and just change, and then just like let your partner's action like affect you and like throw away. So you can really, it's like pre-planning it's like this poison on your scene.
It is poison on your
Yeah,
scene.
it's a good way to put it, Tyler.
Pre-planning is poison on your scene. Absolutely.
And it
so,
Took me a minute there to get to.
And the only there is no such thing as pre-planning because even what I'm about to say is interesting. It's like, well, what if you're going to enter a scene? Same idea. You're listening, and you go, okay, here's what I think might help the scene of what's already there. I walk in, I keep listening, and then I might just say nothing because the thing that I was going to do is gone.
This happened last night. With Jared. So They're in the scene, and it's two characters that are about to go meet a biker gang to figure out, and they're undercover cops. So there's two characters that are coming in. Then the biker gang is Joey, and I can't remember who else. And
Shawnee and Jared.
Joey, Shawnee, and Jared
That's
are
a pretty tough biker game.
they're real tough. So then the characters that come in that were the undercover cops come in, and it happened in the moment. Like Jared hadn't talked yet or whatever, and he was just sort of in the space. And then Joey had dropped that this is Silent Rick or something like that.
Yeah, he
and
named
like
him
then
Silent.
the whole rest of the scene, Jared had to remain silent. He didn't have a choice but to remain silent because that got endowed upon him. However, because of that character became very strong and was a huge part of the scene. That throughout, as like
What was his name?
It Silent something. I don't remember what the name was he gave him.
It was like Silent.
That's what I just
First name Silent, last name is a first name of something.
yeah, Silent Bill. Let's say. Okay.
Well, either way.
So then at the end, like as they started answering questions poorly, then Jared's silent character just slowly started getting closer to them stepping behind them with his arms crossed, clearly establishing that this silent guy is the muscle of the group. That if something was to happen, that and it was such an important piece of that scene, and he didn't say a thing, I guess is why it popped in my brain.
Well, and I don't know if this happened or not, but interestingly too, if someone is silent and they're now endowed with silence, right? And that came because he was quiet, and then Joey noticed he was quiet. He didn't pre-think that. It had to be quiet first before he could call him quiet, right? Silent.
Yes.
So he calls him the silent character. Here's what's crazy. If a kid has like not talked in a while, let's say something happens traumatic, or let's say a new baby is brought into the family, and so the kid that was the baby has they call this like a retraction, where they were talking and now all of a sudden they stop talking because they're no longer the center of attention, and so they had this thing they're going through. When they finally utter words, everyone's like, ah. So if silent character, Silent Bill, we'll call him, if he, toward the end of the scene or end of the show, just said, I don't think so. And everyone was like, he talked, right? It would matter so much, and
Absolutely.
it would be emotional, right? If you were emotional about it.
Yeah.
If you were like, my character doesn't talk, and then it's like, instead of just letting that be where it is, as the scene is going, that's where the character development starts to happen, where you're figuring out for yourself, you're doing your own backstory work as you're moving through, figuring out why am I silent? What is it about me that it makes me this way?
Right.
And then from that place, it becomes exponentially more interesting.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that piece of it. But yeah, absolutely. And it's a prime example. It was right in the moment. Like you can't pre-plan that. He can't pre-plan that happening and that character being there. Like that character was literally born in that moment.
I want to end with this. I want the class to realize, and I'm going to ask you guys, because I know you know this to be true. You should definitely try to get into script classes. If for whatever reason, because you can't afford it, you can't afford the time, or you know it's just like doesn't work for your schedule, whatever it is. If you can't make it to the script classes, there's no excuse to miss the masterclass.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the masterclass, you guys can vouch for me that there will be scenes that are going to go up, and they might maybe get a laugh or two throughout the scene, and then I come in and I help the actors understand what's happening, slow down, connect, and be emotionally truthful, and the exact same lines that were delivered now get huge, uproarious laughter.
Seen it so many times.
And it wasn't there literally 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, where like everything can be funny. Everything can
Yeah.
be funny in this truthful space when it's improv. It is so damaging and so tempting to be the Joan Rivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be looking for the joke, trying to find the joke, worried about the joke.
Yeah,
Poison.
for sure.
Poison.
On the scene.
And I
Yeah.
want you to just be hungry for truth.
Yeah.
Hungry for honesty. Hungry for a real situation. And then have faith, have trust that there's a higher road. And by taking that road, you'll find your way to where your scene is captivating. I can't wait to see more of that scene.
Yeah.
Please, please, please keep going, keep going, keep going. And from that truthful place, comedy automatically happens. You can always find a way to insert game from a truthful place, but only when you start with something that is real.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everybody listening or watching, that is for October is our next masterclass on the 25th and 26th. And you can come audit that. And also, it's available to see those online. Like
And this is 2025. So if you're watching this years
many,
from
many
now,
years
we
later.
do master classes every quarter. So just come to the master class.
Yeah, and if you're watching, absolutely. And you can also check out ones that are online. One of the people who will be in this one in October 2025 is somebody who literally found us by watching the masterclass online, and then in their auditioning video talking about how much they got out of it and what they saw in it, and that they were hoping to gain some of that for themselves. So they are out there in order to do that regardless of date.
That's awesome. You know what? I've decided we're going to do a part 2 of this podcast tomorrow.
I love it.
So here's what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to dive into, and I know we had momentum on the schedule. We're going to push that back.
All right,
We're going to do a part 2 of this, and I want to dive right back into the same verse, but I want to expand on both sides of it, and I want to go deeper into the idea of group mind, because I think that's a topic that really ought to be discussed, and we should flesh that out a little bit.
Love it.
Sound good, guys?
Yeah, sounds good. How about Momentum Monday?
This guy wants momentum
super
so
pushback.
bad.
You want it.
Yeah. What?
No, just as like a weekly segment.
A weekly. Okay, maybe Momentum Monday.
Okay.
You know what? If you want Momentum Monday,
You let us know.
leave it in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. We sure appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much. This is the Best Listener in the Room podcast. We'll see you tomorrow.